What's up everybody, Coach Mills here, and if you don't fix this one thing, you will never climb. And you won't just not climb, you're going to be losing gun duels over and over again, and it's going to be incredibly frustrating for you to play Valorant at all. So we're going to break it down and tell you targeted ways to fix it. But go to the GameLeap website right now for tons of in-depth VOD reviews where we break down plays step by step. So if you want to improve and you want to see exactly how, go to the GameLeap website. But without further ado, let's jump to the video. Now, how many of you have been in situations where, you're practicing, you're playing in DM or aim labs, and your aim is godlike? It looks freaking crisp, it looks clean, you're dominating, you're hitting headshots left and right, and you feel so damn confident. And then you pop yourself into a game, and your aim looks something like this, where you're spraying all over the place, you're running and gunning and whiffing all your shots, and it just really frustrates you how in one game mode or one scenario, you're a highly optimized headshotting machine, and in a completely different scenario, you're an absolute bot. Now, the big problem here, and the thing that a lot of people aren't going to tell you, is that there's a very important relationship between how well you aim and the pressure that is being inflicted on you. So let me give you a perfect example of this. When I was first learning how to drive, I learned it safe. I drove in a neighborhood and I drove very slow. And then I went to my driving test and it was chill. However, when I finally drove for real by myself on my first day driving to school, 3 people honked at me, I was panicking, I was lost, I didn't know what to do, and I probably almost got in a car accident like 3 or 4 times. Now, I knew how to drive, at least in very isolated conditions. However, when any bit of pressure was put onto me, not only did I drive far worse, but the pressure almost ate away at me and prevented me from focusing on what I have practiced many hours at, and just made me completely inept at driving. Now, take that exact same thing and apply it to Valorant. Valorant is the exact same thing when you talk about your aiming. Sure, you can aim in an isolated situation where you're shooting bots or you're shooting people in deathmatch where it doesn't matter if you die, you're gonna respawn instantly. But in Valorant, deaths can hurt, deaths can cause games, deaths can cause rank, and no one wants to just sit there dead when they could have pulled off a hyped play. Now, add on to that the fact that there's a mini-map, there's people talking, there's all this information all over the place. There's people telling you to rotate, there's people telling you to stay. You hear noises here, there, left, right. It's almost overwhelming to the point that just focusing on your mechanical skill becomes an immense burden. You gotta understand that in addition to the game itself just applying pressure to you, overly thinking far too much about what you're gonna do next or what is happening is going to directly hurt aim. Once you reach a certain baseline of your aim and you can be cool, calm, and collected even under pressure, then you can start incorporating much more macro strategies. But a lot of people really want to jump in and think their way out of every single problem when you're initially failing because of your mechanical skill instead. Oftentimes, if you're communicating non-stop, thinking overwhelmingly about the macro strategies, all of that is going to fall to simple mechanical focus, and it's way more important to make sure that you are not buckling under that pressure. Now, pressure is also something that you're going to need to acknowledge in order to conquer, but once you have acknowledged it, what are some big things that you can do to make sure that your aim is on point and you're not just basically whiffing all of your duels when you know that you could hit them consistently if you could play to your maximum effectiveness? Now, the first thing that you're gonna need to do is actually take deep breaths and refresh in between rounds. You messed up on a play and things didn't go right and it lost you the round. I know it's really easy to blame yourself. However, that's just putting extra pressure on you, which is the reason you most likely whiffed your engagement in the first place. Rather than that, take a deep breath, try to refresh, and go into the next round without any of the baggage from the previous rounds. This can also be incredibly annoying and add on additional pressure where a side hole didn't go well because ultimately you missed very easy mechanical shots, and then a teammate flips out and says, you should be doing this, or you should be doing that instead. This is only going to add on to your pressure, and it's not something that is going to actually get you out of the problem that you're facing anyways. Now, next up is you need to be confident in the work that you have put in. Solve your problems with confidence rather than passivity. I know initially, if you try to go for a play or you're trying to hold enemies as they come in or whatever the case may be, and you get completely dumpstered because you whiff your entire magazine. I know your confidence might be shot in that moment, but it's important that you don't resort to just being a very passive player, someone who plays outside of your traditional comfort zone. Don't just look at that last round and think of that as a reflection of you as a player. Instead, think about all the hard work and effort you have put in to hone your mechanical skill, and allow yourself a little bit of ego to help alleviate that sort of pressure. That is how every bit of pressure is overcome, by feeling confident in your own abilities to be able to push through stressful situations. This also means don't allow yourself to go the easy way out every single time, like maybe whiffing a rifle burst and then you're like, all right, I'm just gonna use the judge instead, or I'm just gonna use the operator instead. Well, this could work hypothetically. What you're ultimately saying to yourself is that you're not confident enough in your abilities. You haven't put in enough work, and if you have, then there's no reason for you to go this route just because you failed and buckled under pressure for one single round. When in doubt, default to what you practiced. Now, the last thing that you need to understand is the best way to get rid of pressure is cut off external factors that are applying pressure or extra pressure on yourself. Now, in game, this is like people messaging, whether it's on the enemy or your team, or raging teammates or micromanaging teammates. All this does is going to add additional pressure to you. Mute them, get rid of them, because at the end of the day, if you are being blasted with tons of useful information, it doesn't matter if your mechanics are suffering because of it. And then the next thing is just the eternal factors outside of your game. Whether you have something that you're thinking about that you have to do, whether it's homework or your job or your life, there's something that is really knocking at the door, basically taking you out and adding extra pressure to you. Make sure to knock that out first so that you can focus on the game rather than thinking about a million things at once. Remember, the more you're thinking, the more you're hard focusing on everything that has to come in the future or things that you should have done instead. That is really where the pressure builds up, and that can apply in game as well. But if you learned something, please smash the like, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the video, and go to the GameLeap website if you want to improve even further and climb to Immortal and beyond with ease. Thank you so much for coming by. I hope you enjoyed the video. I love your faces, and I'll see you next time.